Hey y'all, I'm Rylan. Welcome to my channel. I'm here today to go over my April TBR with y'all. I think it's been over a month since I have sat down to film anything. I pre-filmed most of my March content, which is very helpful as I've been finishing up my thesis and preparing to submit it within the next week, which is pretty crazy. So it has been a minute since I've sat down in front of a camera and spoken to y'all, but I am excited to be wrapping up this current season of my life and diving back into reading, because if we're being honest, I did not really read in the month of March. I think I finished 3 books, which is actually better than I was anticipating, but more than half of those 3 books, so 2 of those 3 books, were not even on my March TBR. So April is going to look a little bit different in terms of how I make my TBR, because I'm not using my TBR box in any capacity. April is going to be a month of catching up from previous TBRs this year and kind of just reading what I want, hopefully, or things that I'm very interested in picking up right now. It is almost April as I'm filming this. I'm hoping to have a very quick turnaround in terms of filming and uploading it, and I'm excited. I'm excited to submit my thesis. I'm excited to defend it, and then I'm excited to hopefully be done after that and just be able to read after work instead of working on school. I do have maybe a big TBR, and maybe most likely I will not be getting to all of these because I am still doing school for the first 2 weeks of the month, but I feel like it's possible for me to get to most, if not all of these. And 5 of these books are redos of things that I did not get to in February or March like I said I wanted to. So I've got those 5 books to talk about, and then a couple of new ones that I haven't talked about yet on my channel, I don't think. So let's go ahead and dive into my 5 redo books. These books were mentioned in my February or March TBRs. I did not get to them, unfortunately, but I still want to and would like to, especially as half of them were books that were pulled from my TBR box, and I do want to make sure that I'm following through on reading what I've been pulling out. So the first 3 books that I have here are books that I'm going to try to get to this month instead of obviously March or February when I was supposed to read them. So first up from my February TBR is Unholy Terrors by Lyndall Clipstone. I have read this author's other duology and loved the first book. The second book was fine, and I do want to get to this one still. I drew out of my box for February, but this is one of the couple that I was not able to get to before the end of the month that time. And then the 2 books that I pulled out of my box for March, I did not get to either of them. So first is Pretty Incredible by Lacey Black. I got this in a subscription box several months ago and still have not read it yet, and I need to desperately do so. And then I would also like to get to Rouge by Greer Riverstill. I love the first book in this series. It's a retelling. I don't remember if this one is Alice in Wonderland. It kind of gives off those vibes though, so it may be an Alice in Wonderland retelling, but the first one was Phantom of the Opera, and so every book I think is kind of a dark romantic retelling. So really excited about this one, and I do hope to get to it this month. It has to happen, please. The other 2 books I will be bringing from March into April are Daisy Hates and Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home. I was supposed to read these both in March for a read-along that my bestie Stasia is hosting for the whole series throughout March and then the first half of April. And I read the first book. I was behind in doing so, but I did read the first book in the month of March, and spoiler, I did not like it at all, really. So I've been hesitating to continue the series, but I am very curious about Daisy Hates, and I am curious to see what happens between Magnolia and BJ, so I will continue the series for right now. But if I read these 2 and still don't feel that interested in them, then I probably will unhaul the series, which is sad because everyone seems to love these books, and as of right now, I'm not that impressed with them. So we'll see what happens in books 2 and 3, but I was supposed to read these in March and did not get around to them, unfortunately. The last 3 physical books that I have are just books that I need / want to get to. The one that I technically need to get to is You Loved Me Once by Corinne Michaels. This is allegedly a very emotionally charged book about 2 doctors and some type of moral dilemma that they are involved in, and this is the April book club pick for the Mending Hearts book club, which I co-host with Stasia over at Reader C, and have not finished. the March pick yet, but I do still hope to also wrap up that one in the month of April. I've actually only read one chapter of it so far, and it's March 29th. So I would like to make progress in the March pick and then also dive into Corinne Michaels. It is a pretty short book. I've heard really great things about this author, so I'm excited to try her out, but this one is the one that I need to get to in April. And then 2 physical books that I want to get to. First up, the one that everyone is currently talking about, and that is Sunrise on the Reaping. I've been waiting for Haymitch's story without realizing it since I first read The Hunger Games probably a decade ago. I've read that trilogy so many times. I read the new book, it was fine, from 2020, the one about President Snow. It was fine. This one though is like the one that I have been desperately wanting, and I am so excited to read it. I have heard that people are loving it, so I'm hoping I'm not let down by this one like I was with the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. But this is Haymitch's story, and I am so excited and very scared to get to it. It's not super long either, so I'm ideally going to be able to read it in April, and it'll probably make me want to either rewatch or reread the original trilogy. So I do want to get to this one very, very badly. And then finally, for my physical books, one of my 2025 goals is to once again get the Book of the Month badge prize from the app. So I would like to read She Started It. This will count as a debut and also just a general book that I've read to get the main badge, which is to read 15 Book of the Month books within the year. So I would like to get to this one. Ideally, I get that prize by the fall, and I think I'm on track right now to do so. I think I've read 5 or 6 Book of the Month books this year so far, which is better than I've done in the past. So would like to add this one onto my finished pile for that reading challenge as well. That is a pretty large physical TBR for the month of April. However, I'm also going to give myself some choices to read off my Kindle because I have been in the mood to do that. And I have 4 Kindle books that I would also like to potentially get to if I have time / feel in the mood to read off my Kindle. I don't try to restrict myself to reading every single book that I mention in these videos. I do try to make sure that I also plan for some mood reading / freedom in choosing what I want to read still. But this month, I'm trying to play catch up, but also read what I want. So we'll see what ends up happening by the end of the month, but I am feeling hopeful just with the whole school thing wrapping up. Here's my game plan for my Kindle books, 2 of which are NetGalley, 2 of which are, that's 2 of which are Kindle Unlimited. The first NetGalley book that I would like to read is All We Lost Was Everything by Sloane Harlow. This is also another very emotional romance. I believe it comes out in May, I want to say, and I've had a NetGalley arc of it for about 6 months now, I think, and I do want to get to it before its release date, so that is one of my goals. No idea what it's about, but I think I got a widget for it, and when I get widgets, I do tend to download the books. There's that one. And then I would also like to get to The September House by Carissa Orlando. This is a thriller horror book that has been released for probably a year now, and I have not gotten to it yet, but I do want to. I have heard that this one is very eerie, very fascinating, and very fun, so I am looking forward to getting it. And then the first Kindle Unlimited book that I would like to get to this month, just because I know that it'll be very bingeable, is The Crash by Frida McFadden. I have not liked most books that I've read by this author, yet I keep trying. So we're gonna pick up the author's newest release and see what happens. I think I've read 7 or 8 books by the author at this point, and I've only given one book 5 stars and the rest have been 2 stars or less, so I don't really have that high of hopes for it, but I can't fault this author for not having bingeable books, because these books are so bingeable, they're so quick, they're so fast to get through, and they do keep me hooked. So I think this one will be a very easy one to pick up, maybe near the beginning of the month, as I'm trying to still balance a little bit of reading with school stuff, and this one will just be a very quick and easy escape for me. And then the final book that I would like to hopefully would love to get to in the month of April is The Cellar by Natasha Preston. This book is actually a reread for me. I remember when this was on Wattpad still, and I think I read it on Wattpad and then bought a physical copy because this book was crazy. It's about this man, I don't think he's named in the book, but he has these 3 women trapped in his basement, and for some reason I feel like the current protagonist lives there by herself now, but she knew about these 2 other girls who lived there at one point too, but they're gone now. I don't quite remember, but definitely gives serial killer vibes, and we all know that I like those types of tropes. And I saw that it was on Kindle Limited, and I think that this one would also just be a very fun and creepy and weird binge, because I read it probably in 9th or 10th grade, like almost a decade ago at this point, but for some reason I still think about the book and I want to see if it holds up all these years later. So when I saw that it was on KU, I obviously wanted to get it. I could be completely wrong about that very vague synopsis that I gave, but I feel like it had to do with these 3 girls. They all were named after flowers, even though those weren't their real names. The guy who kidnapped them named them after flowers. So I don't know what to expect of that one all these years later, but I'm going to give it a shot. Natasha Preston is a hit or miss for me. I have read a lot of her books that she has released post her Wattpad days, and we'll see what happens with this reread, but I'm kind of excited about it. It should be another quick and bingeable read that will hopefully be a good escape. That is my very overwhelming, potentially, TBR / hopefuls for the month of April. Ideally, I catch up on the reading that I've missed out on in this month, and then I can go back into doing my TBR box in May and then going forward. But right now I think I really want to focus on catching up, because all the books that I mentioned from past TBRs, and I say past like it's only been 4 videos that I've done TBRs for so far this year, including this one, I'm still interested in reading those books. So I do want to make sure that I get to them, and I do want to make sure that I'm still being very intentional about reading physical books off my shelves this year versus buying a bunch of new books and then the unread books continuing to be a larger number than the books that I have read on my shelves. So I do want to play catch up this month and kind of focus on these old books and kind of focus on the books that I have mentioned in previous TBR videos. So ideally by the end of April, when I do my April wrap up, I'll have read most, if not all, of the books on here. I probably will not do a March wrap up because I only read 3 books this month. So I'll probably combine the March books that I read with the April books that I read, and I'll do a combo wrap up at the end of April / beginning of May. So keep an eye out for that to see what I was able to pick up in the month of March and how I enjoyed or did not enjoy those books. So that is my TBR for the month of April. It feels good to be sitting down and chatting to y'all again. I feel like I've rambled more in this video than I have been in previous videos so far this year. So I'm excited to get back in the swing of things and build up my routine again of filming, because it has been a minute since, once again, I did pre-film a lot of my videos for this month. So I'm excited to be here and excited to start filming again. I just have to make it through the next 2 weeks and then I will be able to do so. If you have any fun books that you hope to read in the month of April, feel free to comment down below and let me know. I love to add books to my TBR on Goodreads, so feel free to let me know what you are hoping to get to. But that is all that I have for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.